Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Hey, everyone.
All right, we've got a really, a pretty serious topic today, but one lots of people are asking about.
Definitely. It's been swirling around, especially in Taiwan's political world, and touches on some big, big questions. Freedom, influence, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're diving into this idea of why Taiwan's KMT and TPP parties, that's the Kuomintang and the Taiwan People's Party, are sometimes getting called CCP puppets.
It sounds pretty dramatic, right? Puppets. But there's a lot of talk, some rumors, yeah, but also some, genuine concerns being voiced.
Kind of reminds me of like when you see a friend suddenly hanging out with someone who always stirs up trouble, and you're thinking, what's actually going on there?
Totally. We're going to try and unpack it from different angles, look at the alleged influence, what it means for people in Taiwan.
And we'll also touch on this big thing coming up called the Great Recall. Lots happening.
Yeah, but our goal here isn't to pick sides or, bash any party. We're looking at this as outsiders.
Right.
Trying to give you the facts, the different viewpoints we found so you can make up your own mind. We're just guides through the info maze, basically.
Exactly. We want to help you understand what people are saying is happening on the ground and why it matters. Encourage you to think for yourself. So grab your drink.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the elephant in the room. Why are these parties, KMT and TPP especially, getting slapped with this CCP puppet or sometimes useful idiot label? What's the core accusation?
It's interesting because it seems to boil down to a mix of, alleged actions and this perception of aligning with Beijing's interests.
Okay.
Some sources point to specific cases, where high-level party members faced accusations about money or intelligence sharing with China.
Like specific example.
Yeah, there was the Zhimshan Yao case from the KMT. He was accused of getting CCP funds, supposedly for election stuff, though important to note, he was later acquitted.
Okay, acquitted. Got it.
And then from the TPP, there was the Ma Ziwei case. Accusations there were about receiving virtual currency from China, again, for election funding, and also leaking info. She was actually expelled from the party and convicted.
Wow, okay. So actual conviction there.
Right. But beyond these individual cases, critics often bring up China's broader United Front strategy.
Ah, the United Front. Heard that term.
Yeah, and the analysis suggests it's not just about cash. It's seen as this, systematic way to influence Taiwan's legislature. Some even suggest the goal is to weaken Taiwan's defense by getting certain laws changed or blocked.
So, like a really complex chess game, maybe?
Yeah.
China trying to influence the pieces without directly moving them?
That's a good way to put it. Precisely. And the methods described are pretty varied, too. Using gangs, underground banks, social groups, even financial parrots, or, debt coercion to get leverage inside political parties.
Okay, that covers the sort of alleged influence side. But what about just behavior? What are they doing that makes people use that label?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting because critics argue the actions often speak louder. For example, there's this perception that some KMT members, especially when they visit China, seem hesitant, maybe afraid to even say Republic of China or show the flag.
Oh, interesting.
But then they might be quite vocal criticizing Taiwan's own democratic government back home.
Okay, so it's like, imagine your school board member visiting the rival school, praising them, not mentioning your school's name, then coming back and slamming your principal for provoking the rivals.
Exactly. That kind of feeling people describe. And then there's the legislation piece. They're accused of pushing controversial laws in Taiwan, like expanding legislative powers.
Right. That was a big deal recently.
Huge deal. And critics saw it as maybe mirroring the CCP's top-down style, potentially undermining Taiwan's own democratic checks and balances. And remember, the Anti-Infiltration Act.
Yeah, designed against foreign interference.
Right. Well, some from these parties opposed it. They argued it suppressed free speech. But critics flipped that, saying opposing it looks suspiciously like trying to weaken Taiwan's national security.
So connecting the dots, it feels like a potential double standard. Tough talk at home, but maybe softer when facing Beijing. Is that the perception?
That's exactly the paradox people point out. It raises this big question. If you genuinely aren't puppets, why the perceived shyness about asserting Taiwan's sovereignty, the Republic of China, when you're actually in China?
Right.
Especially since you're strong defenders of the Republic of China back in Taiwan. And you have to remember, Beijing's definition of Taiwan independence is super broad. Basically, if you don't accept their one China principle, you're it.
So even the KMT's traditional stance, one China, different interpretations, gets rejected by Beijing anyway.
Pretty much. It puts them in a really awkward spot, logically speaking.
Okay, now, obviously these parties fight back hard against this puppet idea.
Yeah.
What do they say? What's their defense?
Well, the main counter-argument is that these are mostly individual cases. Bad apples, not proof the whole party is controlled.
Okay.
They point to times they discipline members, like expelling Ma Ziwei, and they argue that talking to China, keeping communication open, that's just smart strategy. It's about keeping the peace, avoiding conflict, not submitting.
So the line is, we're being pragmatic, not subservient.
That's the gist of their argument, yeah. They might also say, look, this is a democracy. Parties engage in lobbying. They have different views on cross-strait stuff. That's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll highlight that Taiwan has strengthened laws like that Anti-Infiltration Act precisely to counter foreign meddling.
But even with those arguments, that label puppet, useful idiot, it seems to really stick, especially to the KMT. Why do you think that is? What makes it so persistent?
What's fascinating, or maybe troubling, depending on your view, is this consistent pattern of behavior that just keeps reinforcing the perception for many people.
The pattern again.
Yeah. The perceived avoidance of saying Republic of China with CCP officials, the perceived lack of really strong condemnation when China does military drills around Taiwan.
Saber-rattling.
Right. And then flip side, the frequent and pretty strong criticisms of Taiwan's own government for supposedly provoking China.
It's like that person who whispers apologies to the bully but yells at their own family for standing up straight.
That's a harsh analogy, but it captures the feeling some critics express. It circles back to that question. If you truly defend the Republic of China, why seem silent about it when it arguably matters most when you're face-to-face? The phrase, coming to beg for peace, gets thrown around by critics because these visits often don't seem to result in concrete benefits for Taiwan. Instead, they argue, it just ends up validating Beijing's narrative.
Okay, this leads us directly to a very real, very immediate consequence. Taiwan's Great Recall that's coming up. Can you break that down? What exactly is this Great Recall, and why is it such a big deal right now?
Okay, let's unpack the recall. So, in Taiwan, a recall is actually a constitutional right. It's basically a system where citizens can vote to remove an elected official before their term is over.
Like employees voting to fire a bad manager mid-contract.
Kind of, yeah. It's direct democracy in action. And this Great Recall refers to a bunch of recall efforts popping up, specifically targeting certain KMT and TPP lawmakers.
Oh, okay. And it's happening now because...
It's happening against the backdrop of those controversial bills we mentioned, the ones expanding legislative power. Critics slammed them for being pushed through without, proper debate or transparency.
Black box criticism.
Exactly. People felt it undermined democratic checks and balances. And from an international viewpoint, this isn't just seen as local politics. Some observers are calling it a democratic defense test.
A test.
Yeah, like, can Taiwan's system self-correct? Can the people push back against representatives they feel aren't serving them, or worse, are maybe influenced by outside forces?
Gotcha. So who are the main people being targeted by these recall votes?
Well, the most prominent names right now are legislator Cao Hong-an in Hsinchu City and legislator Huang Kuo-chang in Taichung City, both from the TPP, and also legislator Xie Yifeng in Changhua County from the KMT.
Okay.
But there's talk that other KMT and TPP legislators might get added to the list, too. It seems to be growing.
So why are people saying vote for recall? What's the main motivation?
Usually it boils down to a few key things. One is just major dissatisfaction with that legislative reform bill, the feeling it was an overreach done sneakily, a power grab.
Right.
There's also specific anger aimed at Cao Hong-an because of some past controversies, plus her role in pushing these recent bills. But fundamentally, you hear voters saying these legislators betrayed their constituents, used their power against the public will.
Okay, makes sense. What about the other side? Why are people saying vote against recall?
Those opposing the recalls often argue, respect the election results. If you don't like them, wait for the next election. Don't overturn it midterm.
The stability argument.
Yeah. Some also see it as just political infighting. Maybe even the DPP, the ruling party, trying to get revenge for losing seats in the legislature last year.
Political gamesmanship.
Could be. And there's this fear of setting a bad precedent, making governance just a constant, never-ending election cycle. Things become unstable.
So for the average person trying to decide, vote for recall, vote against, what's the calculus?
It really comes down to your own judgment, your values. If you genuinely feel a legislator has, harmed democracy or betrayed voters, you might vote yes on the recall.
Okay.
But if you believe more in respecting the fixed term, or you actually support what the legislator did, or you just want to avoid this kind of recall cycle, then you'd vote no.
So the key takeaway seems to be, recall is the people's weapon, not just a party's toy. Your vote is kind of a judgment call on Taiwan's democracy itself.
Exactly. And here's a really interesting process point. The thresholds for a recall to succeed are actually quite high.
Oh, how high?
Well, for example, to recall Cao Heng-an, the yes votes need to be over, I think, 67,000, and they have to outnumber the no votes.
Wow, that's a high bar.
It is. So simply sitting it out, not voting, that actually makes it harder for the recall to pass. It effectively counts towards the no side reaching that minimum turnout threshold needed to defeat it. Your participation, or lack thereof, really matters.
Okay, this whole situation really shines a light on something you see everywhere, not just Taiwan. This feeling of, it's not my business.
Yeah.
Like, why bother with politics? Or how do you even know China will attack? Or the really cynical one, we can't win anyway, so what's the point? What's the hidden danger there?
What's really crucial to get here is that seeming neutrality, that it's not my business stance. It can actually be a quiet surrender of your own choice.
How so?
Because if you don't engage, if you don't take a stand, other people will make the choices that affect your life. Democracy isn't automatic, you know? It needs people paying attention, participating.
It's like seeing an intruder breaking into your house and saying, oh, that's between him and the police, not my problem.
Exactly. By the time you decide you do want to care, the locks might already be changed. And on that, will China attack? Give me a point. It's important to look at what Beijing actually says.
Okay.
They aren't saying maybe we'll attack. Their official documents, their defense white papers, explicitly say they won't rule out using force against Taiwan. Xi Jinping himself has publicly called unifying Taiwan a historical mission.
And the daily military drills simulating an invasion.
Right. So if someone's waving a knife at your door every single day saying, I'm just practicing, you probably shouldn't feel totally relaxed.
Fair point.
And that we can't win anyway idea. That's really dangerous logic. It's like saying, why bother defending myself if the other guy's bigger? Look at Ukraine. Or smaller countries like Finland, Lithuania. Their defense isn't just military hardware. It's hugely about public awareness, the willingness to stand firm. International help doesn't just appear out of nowhere. The world tends to support those who show they're willing to defend themselves first.
So these seemingly apathetic or maybe realistic-sounding statements, they could actually be, maybe unintentionally, doing Beijing's work for them.
Yes. That leads us straight into this concept of China's cognitive warfare.
Cognitive warfare. Sounds intense.
It is, but subtle. The analysis suggests it's often not about making you love China or believe their system is great. It's more about making you doubt your own country, making you politically apathetic, overwhelmed, creating internal divisions, sowing distrust. It's often seen as softening the ground before anything else happens.
How do they do it? What are the tactics?
Well, sources point to social media, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook being used in several ways. First, content farms and short videos. They churn out stuff that looks grassroots, like fake street interviews with young people saying, I don't care who's president, both parties suck, or slick rational analysis videos saying, China's not really that bad, let's be realistic. The goal seems to be eroding trust in Taiwan's government.
Undermining confidence.
Exactly. Second, algorithm manipulation. Especially on Chinese-owned platforms, the algorithm can subtly push certain views. You end up in an echo chamber seeing only posts about DPP corruption or government failures, and rarely anything critical of China, like human rights issues.
So your feed shapes your reality.
Pretty much. Third, fake accounts and comment sections. You get the 50-cent army paid commenters or maybe outsourced companies using tons of fake accounts to flood comment sections.
Oh yeah, you see that everywhere.
Right. Stuff like, this recall is just the DPP causing trouble. Then they screenshot those comments and spread them on local platforms like Line or Dcard to make it seem like that's what everyone thinks, creating false consensus. And finally, emotional fatigue. Just bombarding people with angry, confrontational videos, stuff that makes you feel exhausted by politics. Both sides are awful. We're just little people, can't change anything. It makes you lose confidence, feel like it's not your responsibility anymore.
So it's not like a direct attack. It's more like a constant whisper in your ear every time you scroll.
Precisely. And it works because it plays on our weaknesses, right? We don't like complexity. We love drama. We tend to trust the crowd. We hate feeling powerless.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal, analysts suggest, is to make you maybe not love Taiwan quite as much, stop you from voting or taking action, and just make you tired of seeking the truth.
Wow. Okay, so how does the rest of the world see all this, especially countries like the U.S.?
Well, from an international perspective, particularly for democracies like the U.S. and its allies, Taiwan is often seen as like a crucial frontline, a beacon of freedom and democracy right next door to authoritarian China.
Right, the geopolitical significance.
Exactly. So any actions that look like they might weaken Taiwan's democratic institutions or reduce public participation, those are viewed with real concern. So this perceived rise of pro-China forces, or forces seen as accommodating to China within Taiwan's legislature, that often gets linked directly to China's gray zone warfare tactics.
Trying to win without fighting, basically.
Kind of. And that's why this great recall isn't just seen as some local political drama internationally. It's framed as that democratic defense test.
Can Taiwan push back? Can the people resist this kind of infiltration, if that's what it is?
That's the question people are watching.
That really puts it in perspective. It's not just about one politician. It's about the whole system's resilience. Which brings me to this question I know a lot of people ask, maybe cynically, maybe genuinely.
Okay.
If these individuals or parties seem so pro-China, if they think China's system has merits, why don't they just pack up and go live there? Why stay in free, democratic Taiwan and try to bring in elements of an authoritarian system that would destroy the very freedoms they themselves use?
That is a huge, huge point people raise. It highlights this massive logical and, frankly, moral contradiction.
Right.
And the honest answer, many observers argue, is that deep down, they know China doesn't offer the life they actually want for themselves. They enjoy Taiwan's free speech, right? They can criticize the government openly here. In China, not possible. Not safely, anyway.
Good point.
They enjoy property rights, knowing their assets are relatively safe. In China, one common prosperity decree could theoretically wipe that out. They value Taiwan's healthcare, its rule of law, free media, elections.
All the things that are either missing or heavily restricted over there.
Exactly. So the critique is, they know China might be good for, I don't know, making certain kinds of deals or playing a certain power game, but it's not good for actually living freely, speaking your mind, having basic security.
So the desire isn't for China itself, maybe, but for the kind of power structure they see in China.
That's a key interpretation. A system where one party dominates, the public can't easily complain, political opponents are kept down. In a democracy like Taiwan, they have to work hard, campaign, face criticism constantly.
It's messy.
It is messy. And the argument goes, if Taiwan were more like China in its structure, maybe they think they could hold on to power with less hassle, less challenge.
So it's like selectively enjoying freedom while trying to dismantle the foundations of democracy.
That's a phrase sometimes used, yeah. The argument continues. If you really think China's system is superior, prove it. Go live there permanently. But if your goal is to turn Taiwan into that kind of place,
then the rest of us have a responsibility to say, hold on a minute.
Exactly. To stand up and say no. Because the very freedom in Taiwan that allows you to express pro-China views is the first thing that would vanish under that other system. You might be next in line to be silenced.
So saying China has good points, that's freedom of speech in Taiwan. Wanting to turn Taiwan into China, that's where the pushback comes. Maybe we should send them over as resident interns.
You got it. You think democracy is messy. Try participating in a Chinese election. Oh, wait.
Right.
Criticizing the government in Taiwan is free speech. What is it in China? It might be called disappearing. Stark difference.
Whew. Okay, that was a lot to unpack, but I feel like we really got to the core of this pretty complex issue. What's your final thought for everyone listening?
I think if you tie it all together, the big takeaway is really about active participation and critical thinking. Democracy isn't just there. It's not a given. It's something we all have to actively protect and engage with.
Yeah.
Your role, your voice, your vote, it matters way more than you might think sometimes.
Absolutely. Whether you're actually in Taiwan or just watching from afar, understanding these dynamics helps you make sense of things, helps you see when different forces might be at play. It's about awareness and having the courage to use your voice.
Well said.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this Sip and Talk, digging into why the KMT and TPP get labeled CCP puppets sometimes, the whole Great Recall situation, and that bigger fight against cognitive warfare in Taiwan. Hope it gave you a clearer picture.
Yeah, I hope it was useful. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to Sip and Talk wherever you get your podcasts.
Definitely.
Big shout out to our good friend Micky over at his YouTube channel, Micky to Life.
Oh, yeah, Micky.
His new Korean travel and food vlogs are all up now. Seriously, go check them out. They look amazing.
Awesome, will do. Thanks for sipping and talking with us, everyone.
Catch you next time.
I'm Ethan, your favorite pizza enthusiast and editor. We'll talk about this topic again before 7:26. Consider it a reminder. Show your public opinion, Taiwanese friends.